In today's episode of Chrome Apps, we'll be looking at an application called Pixlr Editor. This thing in a nutshell is a Photoshop / Paint sci tool that passes off as a mediocre photo editing and drawing tool. This app isn't so much bad as it is lacking key things that would make it better, but to start off this review, let's look at the interface itself. When you open up the application, the interface is similar to Photoshop. It has the toolbar, the layers panel, navigator, even filters, and adjustment layers. When you open up a new canvas, you are limited to what pixel dimensions you can use. With custom dimensions, you can use a maximum of 4000 by 4000 pixels, while in Photoshop or Paint sci you can exceed that much with no problem. Also, this doesn't allow to choose your DPI or dot per inch. What DPI does is pretty much has a more precise marking on your pixel or your mouse cursor than a lower DPI. It could also hide shaky lines with no problem. What makes Photoshop and the Pixlr editor so unique is the layers panel. This allows for an arrangement of multiple images to overlap the other, or coloring over an image without ruining the lines. But one thing Photoshop does better than the Pixlr editor is the adjustment layers. In Pixlr Editor, the adjustment layers are the standalone filter effect that cannot be edited without ruining the image. So in other words, you cannot make an adjustment to the layer to a certain selection of the image, but only the entire image, if that makes sense. However, in Photoshop, you can edit the adjustment layers to a certain selection of the image without ruining the image. You can still add multiple layers and even color image without ruining the picture, but with the lack of the effects and options, it isn't recommended. The tools in Pixlr Editor are bland and simple, but the pencil tool is one of the best things about this application. The pencil tool offers a setting called shading, which fills the gaps with a grayed shade in the areas between the lines. What I mean is this: see how when you draw a little under the line, it fills in the gap with an opaque gray? That's what makes it unique. I drew this picture using the pencil tool. It is different compared to the Photoshop pencil tool, but aside from that, the brush tool and the shapes tools are pretty much the same. It even has the effects such as blur and smudge. The tools are pretty much the same, but the pencil tool is by far my favorite. One of the more interesting things about this app is once you're done with the image that you are drawing / editing, you could save it to your computer. Okay, maybe it's not that interesting, but being able to open files from your computer and a URL sure is. This allows for an open source of images instead of just having to use the standard open file button. Not just that, but if you can't save a file via Google search, you can open it via a link and save it from there. There isn't much to say about this app other than that. I could go on all day on why and how Photoshop would be a better choice, but this compared to Photoshop is outstanding. Why? Because this app is free. No hassles, overpayments, just download and use. If you want a decent app for photo editing or drawing, then give this one a try. If you have the money to throw at your monitor, then get Photoshop. That's all for this episode of Chrome Apps. This is Ryan, and I will see you next time.